Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first episode of our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I am the Ravnos Archon. My name is Will, and I will be your storyteller this evening. And before anything, let me just drop some lore on you, as we are going to be heading into Cove City. Cove City sits on the eastern coast of Maldahar, which is a supercontinent. Cities include Arcanal, Moses, and Ashengard City, the city of the Drow, in the northeastern quadrant. This is a world that these characters, these players, have experienced before, but not like this. The Second Age has ended. Historians in the future will mark the end of the era with the defeat of Tiamat and her endless iron horde. The world has known nothing but strife and war for generations. And now, at last, there's hope for something better. The world is changing, and forward movement comes at a cost. On the eastern edge of Maldahar sits the once ramshackle pirate hub named Pirates Cove by its founders. Now, to keep up with the changing world around them, 7 captains have taken it upon themselves to rid the city's images of what it once was, for what it could be. And in the introduction of law and order came the rebranding, the changing of the guard. No longer a haven for scum and villainy, Pirates Cove struck out trying to be a city of trade and commerce. Trying to be a city where people could come to see the sights of the Marauders' Fjord without the fear of enslavement. To try and be a city where people could come to bask in the warmth of the tropical waters, to partake of the local cuisine, and to explore the ruins of the first city just beyond the crested lands and its dune sea of hills. But 7 captains have founded 7 houses, and the Council of 7, the governing body in a city that has never known law, and they will have to create something out of nothing. It has been 200 years since the Third Age began in earnest. Cove City has been run by the 7 great houses, and they've made it into a city of opportunity. It is now a city of trade, it is now a city of commerce, but it is now also a city of intrigue and danger. Cove City is a city in peril. Old slights and long-held grudges have begun to bubble up. A reckoning is on the horizon, just like a hurricane waiting to make landfall. The Council of 7 has announced 2 openings. Too long has the 7 families governed over the city on high, and as such, 2 seats will be opening up on the council. 5 of the minor families are vying for a seat on the council. The Varthil family, known for their mining, the Olmank family, known for their lumber, the Thesup family, known for their devotion to the gods, chief among them Poseidon, and everything that his bountiful hand has given the city. The Varys family, known for their fearlessness and courage in exploring the ruins of the first city, and the Boyard family, known for their smithing. They do not want to bend the knee to House Vold, which is the house of tradesmen. Each family has a tie to one of the other major houses. But will that be a help or a hindrance to them, is the real question. What will become of those that don't get accepted to the council? And what will each family hope to bring to the table? These are only some of the questions that our group is going to be dealing with as they discover what Cove City has to offer all of them. And so I'd like to thank and welcome our 3 out of 4 players, because we did lose one to life issues. You know what? He's a first-year teacher, so we cut him some slack. So going down the line, we're going to get to introduce everybody to the audience for the first time. Let's start with Togath the Fourth.
Hi, my name is Togath. I am I am a nature cleric. I'm just really happy to be here, guys. My life was hard for me up until this point, but uh, I'm I've been with this group now, and I'm just here to help a lending hand and to spread the philosophy that was taught to me.
Perfect. And what does Togath look like? What is Togath?
Togath is a goblin, uh, which is he is roughly about 4 feet tall. Um, eyes droop. His ears are, as far as the white ears, droop down. He has scarring over his arms. That's from growing up, so you can see that over his skin. It's a lot of scar. It's a little bit of scar tissue that he has. But he is wearing armor that's over his cloak. That's over the tunic that he wears. The armor that's given to him, it looks like it's been about two pieces of armor that's been put together from somebody else's armor. His hands are wrapped up, and inside his hands are a bunch of clover leaves that have just been. You can see that he just constantly just wraps over instead of removing and replacing them. And yeah, sorry, he also has cornrows on the top of his head.
Of course he does.
Of course he does.
So Togath the Fourth is our goblin cleric. Let's move on to Aylin of Viridius.
No.
Vitruvius.
Vitruvius. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Aylin. I've been around these fools now for some time. I kind of fancy them on occasion. But that's just because I tend to save their asses. And that's as much as I'll be able to tell you right now.
So what is Aylin and what does he look like? Or
Aylin is, I know, right? No, Aylin, she is a high elf. So sexy, of course. No, but you can't tell that. She's completely covered up, cloak over her head, long sleeves, fingers wrapped. You can only see the fingertips. You can't see if she's got any scars. You can't see if she's got anything on her. And she kind of likes to stay that way, boots on. She's got, the only thing you can tell is that she is fair skinned with blonde hair that kind of comes around her face and in her eyes a little bit, so that her eyes are almost always guarded to an extent, but you can occasionally see a glimpse of what the color of her eyes are, which is blue with some gold in it. And that's it.
Okay. Looking forward to seeing Aylin as our group's rogue. And then that brings us to the last of the three of you today, at least, because we'll meet Eodicles, the Forgotten, next time we meet for this game. That brings us to Dolosanasi Ernst. I have to check to make sure that I have all of the vowels correctly said.
You did that splendidly, sir. Dolosanasi Ernst at your service. I am a master of the dark arts. I travel with these ragtag group of people. They think that they take care of me, but we all know the charming one's the one that takes care of them. I'm of average height, swashbuckler's goatee, dirty blonde with shoulder length hair, yellowish, goldish eyes with a slight hint of blue in them. I have a very long trench coat with a high collar on it that I always wear up. It's a very dark green, almost black, but it is a hint of green, and the interior's of darkish brown. And most of my attire is like that. I have very high knee-high boots with a flare at the top on them that have buckles on them. My dirty leather armor and a nice bowler hat with dark brown bowler hat with a darker rim. I carry around a walking stick made entirely of one piece of wood with the head of it is a giant bear roaring and the eyes are made of unikite, which is a type of gem. So it's a mossy green. And I also have a pendant with that same of that same material with shaped like the head of a bear.
Okay. How many buckles on your boots would you think?
I was guesstimating, and he has about 3 to 4 buckles on each boot since they're knee high.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you thought about it. So, now that we've met the three of you, out of the four, we can say that Eodicles is somewhere else. He's fucked off to enjoy the sights of the city. Given that we find you at level 3, we can assume that you've had the traditional kind of what level 1 and level 2 errand running adventures where you've kind of had to go fetch things for more important people. Excuse me. You've had to acquire things and maybe go into the ruins of the first city for 1 or 2 people. But now you are starting to have earned a name for yourselves. Do you think your group currently has a name, or are you in the process of kind of incorporating yourselves, as it were?
I think we're still incorporating ourselves. Kind of toying with names.
Okay.
I'd prefer to keep myself as low key as possible. So I don't know if I'd be advertising that that greatly and having a name and being like, here's our business card. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think you would be doing that as of yet. And if we did, I'd leave that to them to kind of take the lead, and I'd listen in, and if I need to, I'll as the charismatic one, I'd come in and seal the deal.
Gotcha. Having spent your formative levels in and around the city, you've come to know that there are 3 major underground groups that control the city as far as different aspects are concerned of the underworld. The Thieves Guild is called Pockets. There is a half-elf woman that is a recruiting agent of sorts. She is the one that people kind of go to whenever they need something from the guild. And although it is a thieves guild, there's a bunch of fencers. There's a bunch of people that will take things gladly off of your hands for a number of coin. But her name is Arstaji Nerfall. Not a terrible person. Always willing to buy you a drink if you've got a story to tell. But she is all business. There is an assassins guild that mostly deals in assassinations, but also deals in espionage. And although nobody talks about it openly, a lot of the houses are considered to be using the members of the Assassin Guild, which is called the Underhand. A half-orc is seen to be kind of coming in and out of the Hall of Justice on the eastern side of the city, northeastern side of the city. And a lot of people kind of believe that he is the go-between, the middleman. He's curt, succinct, hates having conversations. But those of you that have figured the right people to ask have found that his name is Kinth Bracebreak. The third group that is operating in the city, and although they operate discreetly, they have started to bring their turmoil onto the streets as of late, and they've become a kind of sore in the daily lives of the what's called the Mistmen, which is the name of the magistrates, the police officers of the city, the kind of city's militia. But the group is called Malevolence, and they're racist against mountain folk, which is basically anyone. If you're not a Goliath, a dwarf, or a gnome, they hate you. And Malevolence is trying to rekindle the spark of the Goliath empire that used to sit in the heart of the mountain range to the west and the north of Maldahar. You have a map of the city, so you know what it looks like. I have the same map, and I have a couple of see-through sheet protectors that I've marked with where these territories are kind of separated into. And as you get into the politics of the city, we will start to figure out whether or not you should be in certain areas. For now, however, you have been asked by Nathaniel Hughes, Nate Hughes, the lieutenant magistrate of the Hall of Justice, to kind of do him a favor. He's requested the group's help because as much as there are all kinds of races traveling through the streets of Cove City, your particular group is the only one that has an elf, a half-elf, a goblin, and a bugbear. And so you tend to stick out sometimes.
Of course we do.
What are you talking about? Adjust my bowler hat.
I thought of my little stuff.
And I sigh and just put my head to my forehead and just shake it.
Yep. You show up, and one of the other guards that's there, a little young human boy, about 14, maybe 15, kind of stands at attention as you arrive. He clears his throat, and you see him kind of adjust the collar of his armor. It clearly looks like it's never meant to be his. It's just a hand-me-down. It is maybe a half to a full size too big for him. And he nods at the three of you, and then you see him count. Wasn't there supposed to be 4 of you?
Yeah. He's busy. I'm sorry.
You are
He's
quite
doing
astute.
something.
He nods. Oh, okay. I okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's down the hall, and you see him just kind of scurry down one of the halls. The building that you're in is one of the larger buildings on this side of town. It is a 3-story structure. It is the Hall of Justice, as it's called, the magistrate building. The first floor, always busy. There's people coming in and out. It looks like there's a gentleman that has been tied to his seat, probably for your protection as much as his protection, but he does look beat up. There's a cut over his right eye that has bled some into his actual eye, and so there's a kind of shotgun blast of red making its way towards his brown cornea, but otherwise there's just a trickle down the right side of his face, and he just kind of spits in your direction as you walk by. The little boy, the young boy, kind of startles and quickens his pace, and just like, come along, pay no mind.
I wink at him and blow him a kiss.
I'm walking behind them, and when I see them, he does that. I just look at him, and with I can never say this right, but prestidigitation, I make the blood appear into his eyeball, and I keep walking.
And with and this is a word that I can't say. Thaumaturgy.
Thaumaturgy?
Thaumaturgy.
Yeah. I cause the seat underneath him to shake as this is happening.
Okay.
So,
and the thing is, when I do it, I try to do it very subtly, and I'm just like bloop bloop, like oh okay, it's in your eye now.
Yep.
And I just keep walking.
Yeah, it's very easy with all the hustle and bustle to kind of sneak a quiet spell in there, especially a cantrip. Nobody's going to really question you. Especially if there's no like lasting or harmful effect. But you're brought into this not extravagant, but definitely not run-of-the-mill office. It looks to be about 20 by 25. There is a desk at the far end of the office that has a painting sitting over it instead of a window. There is a bookshelf to the left as you come in that just has a bunch of thin, leather-bound, nameless books lining the shelves, a couple of trinkets here and there. There's a thin, rectangular table that looks to have maybe 6 seats, 2, and then 1 on either end. There's a painting of what looks to be a mountain range overlooking the table. And then there's just 2 generous kind of cushioned seats sitting in front of the desk. Sitting behind the desk is an older human male. Looks to be tousled, brownish hair. There's some shocks of white going through it, giving away a little bit more of his age than anything else. It looks like he has failed at an attempt to hold his hair back in a ponytail, as there's wild strands that are coming out of them. His eyes have crow's feet, which shows that he has led some kind of happy life, at least. There is a mannequin on the corner that has his chainmail armor, his chain shirt, his greaves, his vambraces, things like that. And as he stands, you see that there is no weapon at his side, but he does have a dagger sitting right where his belly button would be in the front of the belt. He carries the colors of the Mistmen, which are blues and grays. But you also notice that he has 2 golden rings around his left sleeve, which denotes an officer. This is Nathaniel Hughes. Some of you have heard of him. Some of you have actually talked to him. Nobody has ever actually been sitting at a summons with him, though. And as he comes around the table, he waves the boy away. He's like, "Thank you, Illis. You may leave." The boy nods and just kind of walks out, closes the door behind him.
Keep up with the counting. You're doing splendidly.
He nods and just kind of creepily tries to ignore Aylin.
I just wave.
Yeah, he's
Bye-bye.
too young to understand what that means.
Togath immediately eyes the cushy chair and thinks, "Oh, this is a great spot," and decides to try to put himself into the chair itself.
Yeah, it's not a hard climb.
And well, you said he's a lieutenant, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I take my bowler hat off, and I'm just like, "Well, Lieutenant Hughes, it's quite an honor to be in your presence. We were very surprised at the summon."
Please. You come highly recommended, and it seems that although they're not here, I was told that you have a bugbear in your company.
This is in fact true. sometimes it makes some people uneasy. He doesn't necessarily need to deal with the planning portion of these kind of situations, if you get what I mean. Not the sharpest.
I understand. Pl-
I'm like, yeah, and I walk to the round table and I plop myself on one of the end chairs
okay.
and kick my feet up on the table and just lean back in the chair.
Looking up at the lieutenant. But he's a real sweetheart once you get to know him. I mean, he's just a really nice guy.
I'm sure, of course. Aren't we all? And he motions for Dolo to take a seat.
I go where he's at. I kind of give him a little nod, and I walk over there.
Okay. He stands at the opposite head of the table, just kind of grasps the back of the chair. There has been a situation with the houses. I don't know if any of you are beholden to one in particular, but I can assure you that this task has benefits for the whole council. How much do any of you know of the Ildar family?
I don't think I know anything about them.
Well,
I'm not...
this is where we're going to actually have our first rolls of the night.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to roll history.
All right.
And we'll see what you know or may not know. Togath rolled an 8.
Yep. So I think I know very little from the first. I just read the first page, half of the first page, maybe.
I mean,
of the history book.
Aylin rolled a 2. So, he knows less than you.
I just look at my nails and I'm just looking at my nails, leaning back in my chair. Just like.
Dolo rolled a 19.
Oh.
All right.
All right, you got this.
Yeah.
And that's with a +0.
Yeah. So Aylin at least knows that the Ildar family is one of the 7 families of Cove City. Togath knows that the Ildar family has a crest that is a sailboat aft with crossed wands on the flag. But it is Dolo that knows that the Ildar family is the family on the council that's responsible for all magic in the city. The current head of the family is a gnome. And although they're not exclusively gnomish, the majority of the family is gnomish or halfling.
Okay. I believe, Lieutenant, that that family fancies the smaller folk. Delves in the arcane arts. No, not your kind, per se. They're not quite fans of you yet. They haven't grown to know and love you like I have. But yes, that's about the extent of my knowledge.
No, all true on all accounts. The Odell family, however, has recently had one of their next of line murdered. We have brought in several members of the Assassin's Guild, but no one has any truth of the matter. No one has heard anything or has experienced anything or has been paid for anything dealing with the Ildar family. This is where your group comes in. I would like this handled quietly. If the underhand is not involved in this, that means that someone else is doing this. I'd like to know who that is and why. I'm prepared to deputize the 4 of you.
There's 3 of us.
The bugbear when he comes back, little one.
And what do you want us to do when we find out who it was?
I fear that any of the Ildar family members that you may find yourselves reporting to would have you mete out justice. But I will remind you that as deputies of the Mistmen, that you are beholden to the rule of law above all else. So once you have found out who is responsible and you have proof of their responsibility, please bring them in alive so that we may judge them accordingly.
Togath is raising his hand up. I have a question.
Points to you.
As a deputy, do I have, or sorry, we have access to certain things that being a civilian doesn't have?
Being deputies does not grant you access to our armory or our reliquary or our coffers. But it does allow you to act with some freedom when it comes to other members of the Mistmen and the low-ranking, shall we say, bodyguards of the house families.
Okay.
Being
Doesn't seem like
deputized,
much.
being deputized also offers you a deputy's commission, which is not much, but it's something.
Something's better than nothing, in my opinion. So that's.
But I'd still like to know what that something is.
Yeah.
I awkwardly laugh. I'm like,
Deputies earn
Just
5 silver a week.
good to know. I put my hands on the table. Sorry, I put my hands on the table and I kick my feet down. I'm like, so who in this family should we talk to first? Like, who in that family should we answer to?
There.
would you,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, would you like? And I point to her, and I just kind of say, so yes, do you believe we should possibly offer our services as deputies to get our so-called foot in the door, or paw in certain cases, and see where that leads us?
I leave the investigation entirely in your hands. As I said, you have come highly recommended by some of the members that you have helped in the city. And so I believe that you are uniquely composed of the right people to affect the right amount of change.
I do enjoy some good change. And
I
stand up.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I stand up and I was going to start perusing his bookshelf. Just standing and perusing.
Okay. They're not books by any stretch of the imagination. They're more like ledgers of the history of the seat that he's in right now. And so there's a lot of just records of people that have been imprisoned, what their crimes are, people that have been killed, and for what reason.
Yeah, I just want to stand up against the bookshelf and I want to just like grab one book, open it, flip a few pages, put it back, grab the next one,
Yeah,
open a few pages.
they're all the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah, he kind of goes over to the desk, pulls it open, pulls one of the drawers open, and brings out a coin purse. And he comes back over, puts it on the rectangular table. I can offer you this as compensation to get you started. It's not much, but 50 gold, I believe, is something. The coffers are currently stretched thin as all of us are preparing for this big meeting of the houses that's coming up at the end of the month.
I put on the bowler hat and, knowing the people I'm with, grab the pouch as quickly as possible, and I go, "Of course, Lieutenant, we will handle things accordingly, and I'll make sure this gets divvied up." And I put it away.
Excellent. Are there any questions or concerns that I can address before I have you take your leave?
Do you believe that anybody in the family is aware of your investigations up to this point?
The murder was very open and very public, so if the families do not assume that we are investigating it, it would be a surprise.
Understood. So, very, very well. Would it be safe to say, I know meetings with you are few and far between as you're quite busy. But would you be open if we did require some further assistance or had some additional information at as much of a moment's notice as possible?
If I am on duty, yes. Otherwise, it will defer to the other lieutenant on task at the time.
Understood. Very well. I look back at the other two, at Aylin and Togath. I'm like, is there anything additional either of you have questions for the lieutenant?
I'm still
Oh.
perusing through books, and I just kind of look at you, and I'm like, and I keep doing my thing.
So
I'm looking around, and I see that Togath sees that there's no food.
None.
And says, "No." And he's like, "Can you call us a meeting?" And I just get off the chair, and I just stand up next to the door, waiting for everybody so he can leave.
I look at the lieutenant and I extend my hand, and I'm like, it was quite a pleasure, sir, and we will definitely get this all sorted out for you.
Yeah, he steps around, shakes your hand. Excuse me. He's like, if you need any help getting to the old fort, just let me know. And he comes over and excuses himself as he gently steps in between Aylin and the books, and from one of the boxes on the shelves, he pulls out 4 copper and tin badges that look like just these elongated hexagonal shapes that have a rough kind of etched sailboat on them, like a galleon, and what looks to be a trident that goes from the thinnest part to the largest part.
Poseidon.
Yes, he's the patron of the city.
And is he handing that to each of us?
Yep.
Or he handing all? Okay.
Yeah, they're about the size, a little bit larger than the size of a 50-cent piece.
Well, with that, as he's handing the badge to Togath loosens up the bandage on one of his hands and takes out a couple of clover leaves that are in there, and puts it in his hand as he grabs the badge, and he's just like trying to pin it on himself.
Yeah. He doesn't know what to do with the clover leaf, so he just kind of goes over to his desk and just plops them down in the corner.
I pin it on the inside of my coat, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
I look at it. I try to shine it. I look at it again, and I say, "Hey, Nady boy, we're gonna really have to work on the design of these badges soon."
They're a dime a dozen, so they're very cheap to make, and they're very easy to divvy out as the need arises.
Aylin,
They're
more important.
also really easy to copy. Just saying.
Aylin, it's not about the luster of the badge; it's of the person it's on. You make that badge. So I do apologize, Lieutenant. I do.
Oh, please.
And I'm like awkward. I'm like very awkward. Like I'm pretending, but I'm being very awkward.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
If you are interested in a full-time position with the magistrates, I can definitely see about the different badges that exist in the offices.
I just shrug and I start to make my way out.
Yep.
I see that everybody that Dolo has put his inside his cloak. So as Toga was putting his on top, he's like, no, maybe, and then he just puts it underneath the tunic. He's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
As I make or I guess are we all leaving now?
I mean, unless you have something else to ask him.
Yeah,
No, I'm just wondering. Are we all? If, all right,
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna
if
start
everybody's
walking
walking out. All right. As we're walking out, I just want to turn around. I just want to turn around. And I'm just like, oh, and just like one more thing, Nate. Who did you talk to in that Assassin's Guild? Who is it that you said you were speaking to?
We brought in several of the lower ranking members that we know of, but we have a list that was given to us by Mr. Bracebreak.
Oh yeah. Do you have a copy of that list you could give us so that we already know who you spoke to? I wouldn't want to waste my time talking to the same people you spoke to. Like, it's just gonna help us like cut that out.
It can be arranged. I'll need some time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
And I walk away.
and I make sure I'm the last one out,
Yeah.
and I just kind of like, and I close the door. I'm like, yes, thank you.
So, as you exit the magistrate building and go out into the gray-skied city ahead of you, where would you like to start?
Well, I walk outside and I just kind of, I get my walking stick and I just kind of twirl it and I go, well, interesting turn of events, friends. Looks like we're lawmen now.
I say, shh, not so loud. I really don't need anybody thinking we're anything to do with them fully.
It's the first time for everything for Togath, sir. I'm just. This really doesn't mean much to me. It doesn't even give us anything. Put it back in.
Well, I'm sorry, because I don't know. I just realized something that I don't know if he mentioned this. Did this happen recently, the murder? How long ago was it that the murder took place?
You're assuming it had to have happened within the last week.
Okay. I typically I would say maybe going to the scene of the crime might bring us some ideas.
Do we know where he was killed?
I mean,
None of us asked any of those questions.
none
You're
of you asked any of those questions. You did
These
not.
are all good questions after the fact.
But he did say that you could start your investigation at the old fort.
Right. So I walk. You know what? I walk back in, and I tell I go to the counting. No, but I go to the counting assistant. I go, just one now. The lieutenant told us to reach out if we needed some arrangements made to get to the old fort. It's part of a thing we're doing for him. Would you be able to arrange that for us?
He looks around and he goes over to one of the young girls that's there. She's dressed in the same kind of uniform, but you notice that there's a copper bar around her left sleeve. And you hear them talk, and she sighs. She points back at the desk, and she comes over to you. Hello, hi. It's a young, maybe about mid-20s, early 30s, half-elf woman. Long blonde hair that's tied back in a braid. It comes down to about the middle of her back. She's got these soft gray eyes. The uniform does nothing to her figure, but it does look like if she decided to, she could be quite the knockout. But she comes over. Young Illis here tells me that you need help getting into the old fort.
That is correct, madam. Yes.
Sure. I was just doing paperwork, so I could use a breath of fresh air. Is it just you, or is it the group that was here with you earlier?
It would at this moment it'll be the three of us. Yes.
Very well. And she goes over. You see her go into a room. And then when she comes out, she has a rapier at her side and a dagger on her belt. She comes over. She throws the cloak over one of her shoulders. It's like, I saw that it looks like rain, so figured I could use this, if anything.
It sounds like a wise decision.
But yeah, you see, the rest of you see Dolo come back out with this half-elf woman in tow.
Dolo. And I just look at Dolo and I'm like, you just came out with this hot little thing. Like, this is like the smartest decision you've made all day. I give him that like bro look. I look at her, I look at Dolo, I look at her again, and I'm like, all right, we ride.
I've procured transportation to the old fort.
Have you now? Well, thank you, Dolo, and hello. Your name is what? I'm sorry.
She nods down at each of you in turn. I am Officer Anaya. I'll be leading you down to the docks. I believe we can get a ferry would be the fastest way to get to the old fort. But come along. We can use the house docks, if anything.
I kind of give a small bow and I kind of swing my hand around. I'm like, all right, well, please lead the way.
Okay. And she does.
Yeah.
She takes you through the city. The northeastern side of the city is some of the richer neighborhoods. The south and west side of the city are where the kind of more trade docks are, and so that's kind of where the run-of-the-mill blue-collar people are going to be hanging out. But she does take you to one of the docks nearby, and you notice that there is this symbol on the docks of 3 sailboats on just what looks to be a sea of coins. And she talks to the boatkeeper there. She flashes the badge, which looks a lot nicer than the one that you have. And he immediately finds somebody to ferry you across the channel towards the island with the old fort.
Now, she's coming with us?
Yeah.
So while we're traveling, I do want to ask. I noticed the capo wristband. Is that of some significance to your station?
Yes, it denotes that I am a sergeant in the militia.
Impressive.
No, this is why I'm allowed to have a weapon.
Well, Sergeant, can you tell me what that symbol was we saw there? What's that 3 sailboats over money thing?
Oh, don't you recognize the House Trice logo?
I did not.
Yeah, it's so the family crest.
Do I know? Can I do a history to know about that? See if I know about them.
You sure can.
I think we should. I'm going to do the same.
All of you are allowed to. Yes.
Oh no, I don't. That's the one family I didn't study.
5, definitely. 12 and 15. Everything changed.
It reversed.
how the turn to have tabled.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, Dolo knows that they're just one of the 7 families, one of the 7 major families. Aylin knows that House Trice is one of the founding families, one of the founding 3 families that started initiated the shift from piracy to law and order and trade and commerce. But it is surprisingly Togath that understands that House Trice, or that has heard that House Trice is the first house. It is the most important house of the 7, and it is the one that carries the most power out of the 7 houses.
That is Orkan. That is the first, the original house. Oh, that means they're very important then.
And it's true, though, once he says that, and you kind of start to look around, the ferry that you're on is not a typical ferry. The logs that you're sitting on are padded and lined with fur. And even though the salt water kind of splashes into the ferry and kind of gets it wet, after a moment, there's something on the ferry itself that just kind of washes it away, and it just becomes fluffy and dry.
I take off all my clothes and I just sit on the fur. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, you should have though.
Yeah.
I call that Bruce Brucing when you're going and all that.
There's a simple lever, like a little. There's a ripcord inside the jacket. You pull it with enough weight,
and it just comes off.
Everything.
It's a breakaway cloak.
Yeah. But if you pull it too hard, then it all goes black and white, and you start hearing Aha's Take on Me.
Sing it in your heads, listeners, because
we're only allowed 30 seconds.
Yeah, demonetized.
So we're just traveling on this little ferry, heading to the old fort, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I ask this beautiful sergeant, so you get to carry a weapon now. Do you have like a name for that blade you've got there?
No, there's nothing so fancy. No, it's just a regular sword. The only ones that really have their own weapons are any of the actual officers. Like Lieutenant Hughes has 2 short swords that he's named, but I don't think any of the officers in my tier have asked. But we do have a running pool. I have a gold piece on that. The names are Pinky and Twinkie, because I think he would be one of those people that just kind of like left field, you know.
Absolutely. Sergeant, obviously you being in the service, what happened here at the old fort? Are you aware of it?
I know that there was a murder. Sure. House Ildar, I think it was, suffered a loss. It's very terrible. The Lady Yasika was 3rd in line, I believe, to take over. Real shame. She was a real pretty girl.
Did, as far as you know, was the type of person she was, did she have any kind of enemies or folks that may not have been too fond of her, either publicly or we all know how cities are. There's a lot of private slander that goes about.
She shakes her head. Like, no. Lady Yasika was very nice and very, very loving. She regularly donated 5 or 10 gold pieces to the orphanages, depending on where she was and what she was doing that day, and she regularly helped out with making sure that people over by Finnegan's were taken care of, even though they're currently in the roughest part of their times. She wasn't one to shy away from being in the slums. Is what I'm saying.
How, well, I mean, was she married? Her husband must be devastated.
No, she was betrothed though.
Was she? How's he doing?
We don't know. He's not a member of the city. It was a marriage to help create, from what I understood, a trade route to. I can never remember if it was for Arcanal or if it was for Moses, but it was definitely one of those cities in the south.
What does she do in the fort? What does she normally do there?
Oh, nothing that I know of. That's just where her body was found.
So she never goes there on a regular basis? She doesn't frequent into the fort? She just showed up?
That's all we know. Is that's where her body was found.
That's very strange.
Yeah, it is.
Clearly, if she would have, this marriage would have gone through, the power and the level of the house would significantly increase. Correct?
Oh, for sure. This definitely would have put them up against any of the top 3 houses. Sure.
So it's safe to say that one of the top 3 houses would have had a lot to lose had she remained upright.
Oh, probably. Sure.
Understandable.
Do we, from our previous time in this town, have we heard anything of the old fort? Have we heard anything that happens there, goes on there, or anything like that? Do we have any knowledge about that area?
The old fort is one of the places where the events will usually take place, depending on what's happening. If there is a festival, it'll usually take place on the old fort island. It is one of the only places on the island that has been kept as it has been since the city's founding. And so the damage that was caused during the shifting of the guard and the exiling of the old pirate captains, all of that kind of the signing of the Accord of the 7 Houses was done at the old fort, and so it kind of has this mystique about it.
And also like some sort of like historical presence there. Like
it's the big tourist thing that everybody kind of pushes you to go to if you're just coming to Cove City for like a vacation. You have to go see the old fort. It's kind of like, since all of us are from Florida, it's kind of like going to St. Augustine and seeing
the Castillo de San Marco.
Yeah.
Castillo, yeah.
Seeing the Castillo and seeing the being among the history.
right.
So in other words, the fort is not operational.
Not
this
at all.
It's just literally just a sightseeing tour, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
Sergeant, this murder occurred within the last few days?
Oh yeah, it occurred just about 2 nights ago now.
Okay. And this betrothal that she had, was this something that was coming up, the marriage, or
End of the year, sure. It's gonna be a big winter wedding. Well, we don't get winters down here, but it's gonna be cooler. Sure.
Were they going to be married at the old fort?
Oh yeah, that was the big plan.
May I ask, who takes care of the old fort now?
There's a branch of the Mistmen. Some of the more retired, or some of the members that are close to retirement, will usually be shifted over to the old Fort Island.
And of course, you've already spoken to them about what happened that night.
Yeah, sure. They have their own magistrate building on the island. I mean, we call it a magistrate building, but it's just the old courthouse.
And what did they say when they found her?
They're the ones that summoned the rest of us. They're the ones that found the body.
Okay.
Was it? I know details are rough sometimes, but was it like bloody?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, gruesome. From what I heard, I believe it was old Mackin who said that it looked as if she had been ravaged by a wild animal.
Not good. Hmm.
I will also take this moment to enlighten you in case he hasn't. But Brandon does have a wild animal.
Wait.
Of course he does.
Okay.
Of course.
Good to know now.
So,
Wonderful.
not to put conspiracy theories into the air.
For a moment he gets back, that's the first thing we do. Animal.
Yeah,
Animal.
I'm just gonna. The rest of this episode is gonna be me planting evidence.
What type of animal is it? Create the
Here's a-
bite marks.
Yeah, here's a lock. Here's
I'm
some pee.
I'm looking for it now. The only thing that I can tell you for a fact, and this is his choice. I did not steer him in this direction.
Oh no.
It's gonna be like a mongoose.
He was like, "This is what I want, and this is what its
Is it a
name
duck?
is." It's not a duck. That would be convenient for you.
It's a platypus. It's worth.
No, it's not terrible. Because I just told him that he could use the mastiff rules for it. So it has to be some kind of wolf or dog. I think it's a wolf dog. One of those.
It's a wolf or dog. Wolf dog.
Or
One
a
of those
dog wolf.
Malamutes.
Dog wolf. Man bear pig.
Man bear pig. But its name is Helen.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Sure.
That bitch.
All right.
when
That bitch Helen.
when I describe how hungry for attention it is and how it loves to be touched by everybody,
Oh boy.
just know that that's for us.
That's wonderful.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So back on the boat where
Yeah.
I'm looking at this sergeant,
Yes, we're
I
back on the
want
boat.
to.
Rolled on the back. Scratch my belly. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh man.
Yeah, man bear pig.
So I want to. I'm just sitting on this boat, and I'm ferry, and I'm just looking out as we're on our way. And I want to ask the sergeant if. So do you have your own ideas of who you think might have been behind all of this?
Oh, I wouldn't know where to begin. I haven't even seen the evidence. I haven't seen the crime scene in any way, shape, or form.
I know, but you know how these cities and these towns are. You're always looking at someone going, I don't know, they could do this. They can have the most to gain out of something like this. So you don't have even a guess, a lucky guess.
I mean, there's a lot of talk of some new person that's moved into town that's trying to shake things up, who calls himself the solicitor. So I think if anything, it might be him or them,
Interesting.
whoever they may be.
Interesting. The solicitor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask if there's been talks, been considering, but we've been in this town, in Cove City for a bit. I wanted to know if I've heard anything as far as from being around the bar, being around different places, that they've talked about these families that have had any quarrels with each other or have had issues within the family.
Let's have you roll charisma with and add your proficiency bonus to it.
Ooh, okay. Charisma. My proficiency bonus. Well, dang. So, all right, here we go.
Why'd you roll a save?
Oh, you said charisma.
Yeah, charisma by itself, just a charisma.
Oh, just charisma by
Check.
itself.
Yeah, and then what is the? Then we'll just add 2 to it for your proficiency.
Never mind.
Oh, you have a -1. No,
Oh,
I have a -1.
Jesus.
no.
Jesus. He's like, tell me, whore. What? What just happened?
Who does number
No,
2
it's-
work for?
This is more of a memory. He's like, he just stood there and is like, yes, things, stuff and things.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I'm just thinking about that bitch Helen right now. That's all I'm thinking about at this moment.
Stuff and things. Stuff and things. Yes.
Stuff and
yes,
things.
Yes.
you know that you've kind of you've done the due diligence. You've talked about the families. You've bought people beers. You've had beers bought for you. And now in the moment when you need to dredge up those conversations, all you can think about is just that big fluffy dog just on its back and just all the hands all over it.
And
Um,
I'm just off like in the distance thinking of this.
Yeah. This-
I throw my.
do I?
No, I'm just kidding.
Man, overboard.
yeah.
Do I know through my own? I'm assuming that in the time that I've been in this city, I've made certain connections in certain areas of town. Have
What subclass did you go down?
assassins?
Okay, so
Oh,
do you have the options?
I'm pretty sure.
You have the
Isn't
option.
that on my?
Maybe, I don't know. It's your character.
Isn't it
if
on my
it's
character?
If it's assassin, if it's
Yeah.
assassin.
Assassin.
It's on my character sheet, right? Wouldn't it be on my
You
character
put it. You
sheet?
put it in the assassin.
In the assassin.
Yeah.
In the
So
Ass to ass.
in the
Ass to ass. No, seriously, where would I find that I made sure I did that?
Where would this be?
I'll take a look at it now. So given that you're a rogue and that you are an assassin, assuming that you did that right, you have the option of either having tried to petition a seat to meet with a member of Pockets, which is the Thieves Guild, or you could have tried to become a member of the Underhand, which is the Assassin's Guild. Either avenue is open to you because of your
By
class
my subclass.
combination. Yeah.
Can we confirm that before I make a stupid decision?
Well, I mean, we can have it that you are still trying to petition either one of them.
Okay.
No one has gotten
Okay.
back to you.
An hour into
Okay.
the first episode, and the stupid
Yep.
shit is a
It's stupid. And we did it, guys.
We
hour
get-
and 15 minutes.
We got it.
I'm surprised we got an hour in, guys. Just want to let you know. So yeah, have I heard of through like the grittier parts of town of this solicitor at all?
Yes, the solicitor is somebody that is operating above the law, but everything they're doing is for the benefit of the city. Like, things will look like something devious has happened. Like, the latest thing that they did was they set a bunch of people free from the stockade. But it also turned out that all of the people that were freed were falsely imprisoned by one of the minor barons, or what is the Norinth family. And so that kind of
Second.
put
The Norinth family?
Yeah. That put them in a bad light, and that's kind of what led to these 2 new seats being opened up on the council.
So the Norinth family had falsely imprisoned people, and these solicitor group freed them,
Mhm.
right? Cool. Just want to
Yeah.
get my notes in order.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
The Baron in question was also hanged for his treasonous acts.
Ah,
The what in question? I'm sorry.
The Baron.
So I tell her, I ask her, Sergeant Naya, when we arrive at the fort, obviously I'd like to go see the scene first, but can you arrange for the magistrates on the island? We would, since they're the ones that found the body, we would like to ask a few additional questions from them, just for our own edification, if possible.
Of course. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that can be done.
Your services are much appreciated. And I walk and I kind of just go to the other end of the other side of the boat, the ferry, and I'm just kind of
taking in the sights.
yeah.
One more question on the solicitors. Do they have a calling card or something that they claimed? Like they were like, yes, we freed them. Like this is how you know it was us. Is that something that they leave behind? Some sort of calling card or something?
As of yet, there has been nothing. But there are rumor mongers that have been tasked with specifically sending out information whenever something happens that the solicitor had a hand in.
Okay, got it. So I'm just gonna pull out one of my many daggers,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna pick my nails while I wait for us to get to where we're going.
Okay. I like the frenzy that we have just put Brandon in.
Yeah, when you just asked him like 2 questions about the dog, and he's like,
he started freaking out. What's happening?
with it?
Yeah.
He's
Maybe
already
he should
crying.
listen to the session.
Yeah.
He's
We'll
already-
find out.
He just
He's
said
already
Victor
crying, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
he's already crying.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think unless so that's it. You guys don't have any other questions for her right now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just thinking about the big floppy ears right now.
right, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Yeah,
I'm
there's-
lost in.
Oh, that's just so floppy.
Yeah, once you're done, it is a quiet kind of ride. And as you come up on the island and you're about to dock, it starts to sprinkle. There's a light kind of rain that comes in. And as you deboard and kind of get onto the docks, you can see that there is a huge difference, especially coming from the Trice family docks. Like, they're not ramshackle, they're not dilapidated, but they are older. Excuse me. And it looks like the only things that are really docked here or that are docking here and currently are just ferries. It looks like at one time they could have easily have handled 4 or 5 galleons. Now there's few timbers that are kind of coming up, jetting out of the water at a distance of where you would imagine some of the docks used to exist. They're laden with barnacles. There's wrapped seaweed around it like a necklace. But it is very different here on this island. There's a lot less noise. There's no hustle and bustle. There's still people that you can see them walking around. You can see them kind of taking in the sights, but it's different here. And as you're walking around, he's like, so yeah, let's go over to the old courthouse, and then we'll go over to the old fort then. I'll introduce you, see who's there.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you. And I look at you guys, and I just kind of like with my cane, I'm just like, just keeping
Yeah, I'm already scoping out the entire, our entire surroundings, just looking around. I've also kind of just even more brought my hood up just a little bit further forward on my head so that I'm even more covered. If you're not standing really close to me, you can probably just make out the lower part of my face. And I'm kind of just
do you have makeup
walking
on,
down.
or do you not?
Sure, you're gonna have to invite me out on a drink before you find out that information.
Okay.
Oh.
I just want to know
know-
if you advertised that you are a woman.
Yeah, no, you can tell
Okay.
that I'm a woman.
Okay.
I would like to say, I know that I didn't describe this at the beginning, but I've got a nice set of knockers, and you can kind of see it through my tight clothing. My character has the body I dream of when I go to bed. So
There's extra leather in the chesticle areas.
yeah.
So yeah. So you're walking around. The buildings here are much older. The brick construction looks completely different here. There's less. It looks like attention to really the aesthetic of what's being built here, and they're just all the buildings are built to function. They're built to survive the inclement weather. They're meant to survive the kind of splashing and the salt of the sea being right there. And the big thing that stands out of the island is the old lighthouse. It sits at the far end, and although it's no longer in use, every so often they will kind of light a bonfire at the top and let it do its thing. But the current main lighthouses are the one that's called the Trade House, which kind of doesn't sit on the trade island, but it does sit on the next island over to help people kind of navigate the shallow coral reefs that were once the saving grace that kind of protected the pirates traveling in and out of the cove. And there's another smaller lighthouse, kind of the same size as this one, that sits on the family island, on the house island, and that one is just in case there's something coming over there. It rarely lights, it's rarely lit, but when it is, it's usually a sign that some shipment has come in specifically for one of the families. And it requires a little bit extra navigation, given that there's also a bit of reefing around that island. The houses here are sporadically colored. It looks like somebody just whatever color they fancied, that's what their house became. So there's a red house next to a yellow house, next to a gray house, next to a light blue house. Streets have no real rhyme or reason. There's just the main thoroughfare that kind of leads from the lighthouse to the old fort, and off of one of the avenues on the main thoroughfare is this interesting two-story building. There is this anchor that looks to be sticking out of it, like a sea giant must have launched this into this building, and it's just kind of been sitting there now. But it looks like the Hall of Justice was modeled after this building. It just looks much newer, much cleaner. The lines are much neater. And so inside, when you walk in, the first thing you notice is that there's no hustle and bustle. There's no people walking, coming and going. There's an old looking dwarf at the desk. Long white hair. There's maybe a couple strands of gray where it used to be black. Big fluffy white beard. Keeps it tight, and there is a single gold and silver fist that holds all of it together near his rib cage, where the rib cage starts, and just kind of comes down in what looks to just be a shoot of white fire. He's got the Mistman armor coloring, though there's 3 white bands on his left sleeve. And as you enter, he kind of smiles, looks up, he takes off his glasses, he puts down the newspaper that he's reading, and stands up, claps his hands together. All right, well, what can I do for you?
I remove the hat.
Yeah.
Greetings, greetings, sir. Lovely place you have here. We are here at the behest of the lieutenant, Mr. Hughes, Lieutenant Hughes. The terrible business that occurred here with the murder a couple nights ago. We've been asked to assist in the investigation.
Oh, excellent, excellent. That's great news. And he kind of comes around the desk, and he immediately kind of comes over and just wants to shake everybody's hand. He pats Togath on the head. Oh, look at you.
And look at you.
They're adorable when you put them in armor, aren't they? And he kind of starts to walk past all of you.
And who can we say we have the pleasure of the acquaintance today?
He stops at the doorway. He kind of turns around. Oh, how rude of me. My name is Senior Sergeant Dolvin. I've been out here for maybe 4 years now, so I'm not used to being formal about anything. You can just call me Dole.
I wanted to ask the symbol that's on his armor. Is that from his patron?
Talking about the
The three
stripes?
lines?
No,
I think that's
the
because we
fist.
see.
Oh, the fist. Yeah, he looks down at it. He's like, oh, no, this is just a gift. My son's a smithy. He sent this to me.
Very,
So,
so very talented, very talented.
so I kind of just asked him, so were you here 2 nights ago?
Oh yeah,
Working?
yeah. I was on the night shift that night when it happened. I think I'm the one that got word out. One of the firemen.
Oh. What'd you see?
I mean, it was gruesome, say the least. Girl was half naked. Looks like they tried to go for a midnight stroll out by the fjord, but it's dangerous out there. You got to know what you're doing if you're going to be out on the cliffside, especially, it was raining that night and wind picked up, and if you didn't know what you were doing, you was in some trouble out there. Any of you mountain climbers?
I look down. Togath looks down at his feet, looks back up, and is like,
What do you think?
And wait, I'm sorry. You said she was climbing mountains in the rain by herself?
No, she was just out by the fort's collapsed edge. It's easier if I just take you and show you.
Absolutely.
Please.
We can speak as we travel.
Sure. Sergeant, if you could
He's such a multitasker.
if you could just stay watch and help anybody that needs it, and you see that she nods, and she kind of replaces him at the desk.
Hey, tip my hat to her. And I kind of flip the bowler hat back on.
Yeah.
I go to take her hand to shake it goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, she looks at you a little funny. She's like, "You're coming back at some point. Like we're gonna have to go back. So it's not. We're not saying goodbye forever."
I don't know. It's dangerous here. Walk away.
And I walk away.
Yeah.
I leave.
And I walk away.
I don't look back. Cool guys don't look back.
Togath goes ahead and takes off one of the clovers out of his hand, and as he passes it over into her hand so that he can grab it, he goes,
This is for good luck, just in case.
and it's a 4-leaf clover as a regular 3-leaf, just giving
Okay.
it to her,
Keep it secret, keep it safe.
and then turn around and then just follow you, everybody else.
All right.
And so as we're walking,
Mhm.
I'm gonna just talk a little bit with the sergeant. So Sergeant, you'd mentioned typically folks will not go to the fjord area unless they really know what they're doing. Do you typically have a lot of issues of folks that do not understand the lay of the land going there, or are they smart enough to stay away?
No. During the day, there's usually somebody there stationed to let people kind of to gauge whether or not they're skilled enough to go down there. Because I mean, and I'll say that in my youth, I went down there a few times because the caves are worth going down there. It's dangerous to go on a ferry though, because the waters is choppy. The coral reef could turn on you at any moment, so it's easy to just climb down from the fort side. But it's it's a young man's dance.
Understandable. And Lady Isako, was she one to come to the fort often, or is this kind of a strange circumstance that she would even be here?
Yeah, no, I don't remember her being here since a coming of age party. That was the last time that I remember her being here at all.
And
Who seen her off the ferry? Nobody.
Ma'am, people of the houses have their own ferrymen. You'd have to ask whatever Ildar family ferryman was on that night.
do you all believe that this messy incident occurred through the nightfall?
Oh, had to be.
Okay. And I ask this question with the utmost respect, Sergeant. In the evening time, what's the security like on the fort?
One god. Once the sun is setting, we don't let visitors kind of hang out anymore. So we kind of urge them to either find lodging at one of the estates that has been converted, or we help them get to a ferry so they can get back.
So it would be safe to say it would be fairly easy for somebody to sneak onto the fort in the evening hours, since you are limited on men.
Oh, it happens, you know.
There's only so much one man can.
Yeah,
patrol.
we find food wrappers up there. We find, and I hate to say this, but we have found wooden, and he kind of coughs, but representations of male genitalia.
Oh, it's a party place.
I'm sorry. No. I'm gonna need you to tell me what exactly is it that you find up there? What is it?
It's not. It doesn't happen all the time, but we have found the collection is much too large at the Lost and Found for any man to feel comfortable.
That's what she did comment.
What are they called again? What are those things called again? What are those things? Dolo, what are those things called?
Oh, I'm still trying to figure out what he's saying.
Bludgeons. They're called bludgeons. Anyway.
They are.
So so when you said that it was quite a mess, do you believe she fell from the fjord?
No. We didn't find her down by the water. We found her against the wall, slumped.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have on this in the fort? Do you have any kind of wildlife or anything of the such?
We try to keep the animals at bay. So maybe some squirrels. You might see some jackrabbits here and there.
Nothing major though.
Nothing big, nah.
Okay.
Nah. At best, it's maybe something the size of two fists put together.
Mm. I've
Oh.
seen some honey badgers that will terrify you. Well, we would definitely like to see the fjord and where the body was located, and it's not too much trouble. We may have a few more questions when we get there.
Yeah, sure. What do you want to see first? So I know where to take you once we get in through this portcullis coming up.
Mm,
I'd really like to see where you found the body.
Yeah. Good idea.
Sure enough.
and I look at the sergeant. I'm like, at least she didn't ask about seeing the spot with the other things.
I do I hear that? Do I hear that, Will? Do I?
Make a perception check. Let's find out if you do hear it.
All right. Hold on.
Let's see.
Let's find out right now.
You know, this offhand comment.
Well, you know how offhand comments be.
13 plus 5, yo.
13 plus 5. I think you can just hit the actual skill and it'll.
Yeah, if you
Oh,
hit the
really?
skill,
Yeah.
it'll add it on there.
Oh.
Hey, look at you. We'll take the 13 plus 5.
We'll just take the
All right.
13.
Yeah, we'll take
Yeah.
I'm
the,
But now
learning,
you
guys.
know,
I'm
but now you
learning.
know. Now you know. Learning is
Now
half
I
the
know.
battle.
half the battle.
Yep.
That is. So I hear this, right?
The other half is red blue lasers. But yeah, you hear the offhand comment.
I look to Dolo and I say, I don't need one of those. Have one in my bag, and I keep walking.
La 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 la.
Yeah.
Togath is so confused.
But you are taken to an area where you can see what looks to have been at one point a barn that was housing at most 4 large animals. And between the remnants of the barn and the stairway leading up to the archer's kind of roost, you can still see that there's some spatter of blood up against the wall. There's a collection of a weird looking shape of blood that looks somewhat like this is where the body would have been slumped. That is still kind of on the stones. It's been rough to remove. And if everybody wants to give me an investigation check.
My second worst stat. Here we go.
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take it.
I'll take it too.
I guess I'll take a 15 as well.
Look at that.
Jesus.
Bro, CSI Caves.
Yeah, seriously.
CSI
Wheels up
Cove
in
City.
10. Let's do it.
I was like, yo, this is going to be so much fun to tell a murder mystery because nobody's going to put points in investigation. And everybody's like, hey, I was a 15 or higher, motherfucker.
It's
Toma.
Cove City.
Yeah. Yeah, as you guys kind of
No.
you show up, the senior sergeant kind of shows you where the body was found. He describes how it was slumped over, the kind of very gash like wounds at her throat, and just how the stomach had been ripped open. By the barn itself, you see 2 very different footprints. One that does look canine, only the print is the size of a human hand, fingers extended as far as possible. And then the next logical step from there in the bloody footprint, it is a unshoed barefoot.
Really? 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 So the first step. Sorry. Hold on. So the first step is canine
Yes.
going in the same direction,
Yes.
and then the next step is human barefoot.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Okay.
What do I have to roll to think if I know what it is that I know as a human being?
As a player,
That my half elf, as I'm looking at the market for where they have silver.
So I see this. We all see this,
Yeah,
right? All three of us see this,
all three
right?
of you saw it.
No, but that was a serious question.
The senior sergeant is lost in thoughts. Like you see that he's kind of staring out at the city.
Perfect. At that moment, I want to make eye contact. I look really low to the ground. I look at Togath. I look at Dolo, and I'm like, just look around, like, are we all on the same page right now?
And I get on my tippy toes and I go, ow.
Well, that's my question. Would we know what those are?
There's
question.
plenty of lore, and this is heavy-handed, so you could assume.
Okay. All right.
Based off of enough religion about what I've learned, and especially
in nature cleric, yes.
Especially in nature, I would have known.
Okay.
Yeah, something.
Because I just don't want to assume that we. So now wait. End scene.
Yeah.
It's like
Guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not good.
No. So I looked to the guy who's like looking far off. What was his name? Is Doe? We're calling him Doe, right?
Dole.
Dole.
Yeah, D-O-L-E.
Got it. He's looking like what? Like outside of like a window?
No. There's
outside the.
Excuse me. There is a whole section of wall that is just missing from the fort. And that's where it kind of overlooks the fjord, and that's where you can see across the channel to the main part of the city. And he's just kind of standing at the edge of where the rest of this barn would have been, and just staring out at the hole and at the channel beyond. And he just kind of has his hands on his hips, just taking it all in.
So, as we're looking at everything, I just want to say, hey, Joel, what other kind of things you say, it has happened before? Has other reports been made recently around here about weird happenings or people breaking into this old fort?
He turns around and is like, out here, no. Like I said, it's once the sun starts to go down, like we try to get people off the island.
Togath starts to trail off to outside of that area, and he's gonna want to check the ground to see how often these footprints, as far as canine these footprints, are prevalent in this area. Seeing if there is if this was an actual lead in, if in other words the canine footprints led into this area and then led out as a human, or if I can actually get a trail, and if there is a trail that.
There's only the two footprints. The one big canine one and the one barefoot one. They both were kind of hidden by some straw. It kind of looks like someone took great pains to kind of hide the two of them. But the two of them just exist as walking away from the crime scene.
Okay.
I want to, as I'm walking around, kind of kick the straw back over them.
Okay.
Sergeant, just out of curiosity, have you had any incidents of indecent exposure by individuals? Maybe you've seen them in their birthday suit, so to speak.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of that happens out here.
Didn't you hear about what they found? Duh.
Right. Maybe somebody who was not necessarily inebriated or of the maybe some confusion if when they were approached.
Nah.
He wants to know if you've seen any crazy naked people just walking around not knowing they were naked or that they're crazy.
Nah, not around here. Most of the people know better. Even any of the people that come out here to kind of see if they can be visited by ghosts, like they know better than to try to be out here without their clothes on.
May I ask, who exactly lives in these houses?
Not a lot of people. The old town is kind of kept as empty as possible to preserve the buildings. So only a few of the buildings have been allowed to kind of be refurbished into taverns or inns that can accommodate some people. But at the most, the island is only allowed to house 24.
And anybody from, by any chance, the Ildar family happen to live here?
No, the families all have their own estates and their own apartments.
Mm.
In regards to the body itself, aside from the obvious trauma, was there any signs of? We'll try to say this as politely as possible. Was there any signs that she may have been um, in had involved in recent coitus?
Uh,
I laugh out loud at his use of that word.
I'm
I just laugh.
I'm a simple man, and I don't
Or-
really know what that means.
Sex. Doing the nasty.
And wait, Togath is looking over at Aylin as Aylin is doing this. And I was like,
oh, that's what you were talking about?
He's
Right,
like,
right.
if a goblin could turn red,
yeah.
that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what's happening right now.
It's a little more orange than the green he's used to.
Yeah.
No, he kind of like, you see him, like he does become beet red around the cheeks, and he kind of looks away. He's just like, sir, not that I would have seen.
I don't know if you have someone to look at the body, or if somebody examined, or was it just the assumption of the claws and the ripping of the gut? But sometimes there's more information you can get from corpses.
We
So I've heard.
we gave the body back to the family, so whatever has happened since then, you would have to go speak to them about. But I assume they, being that Ildar is the family of the spellcasters in the city, that they would have access to some kind of priest.
I put my hand on Dole's shoulder, and I just want to like comfort him from his like pure like that blushing that he got, and I just put my hand. I'm like, Dole, I'm sorry. Dole over there is quite the pervert, so I'm sorry if we made you uncomfortable. But can you at least tell me, were organs missing? Do you know about that? Not the coitus. And
That's what
I look at Dolo again, and I just laugh. I'm like, but the wound, that seems a little more important right now. What did it look like? Were guts missing, an organ or anything?
From what I saw and from what the other guards here saw that night, we can assume that stuff was missing. Some of the entrails were kind of pulled out and strewn about. It was not a very family friendly image, if you catch my meaning.
I wanted to find out, as far as the prints that we saw, it led out to one area, correct? From that was leading out. Where's the closest house or actual building
It was
that
it was leading
in relation?
out to the fjord, actually.
It was leading out to the fjord.
Yep. It wasn't leading back to the island.
Sergeant, would you mind a moment to give us a moment, just so we can kind of pull our thoughts together?
Oh, sure,
Mind waiting
sure.
outside?
Yeah. I'll go back to the portcullis.
Much appreciated, Captain. I mean, Sergeant. I apologize. So many people.
Yeah.
Um,
And he
I
does
wait till he
leave.
walks up.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
leaves.
Okay. I'm like, first of all, how dare you? Secondly, is there a reason you're covering up the tracks?
I
Do
mean,
you
they were
want?
covered up when we got here, right? Why not leave it exactly as we found it?
Okay. So I think this is first of all, this has taken a strange turn. Now we are dealing with lichens. This is assumably lichens, but it's pretty clear. We really need to be very cautious about how we move forward with questioning, as to not sound somewhat like lunatics. I think the question. So you are aware, because I don't like fighting in front of other company. The reason I ask about the coitus, the sex, and I look down at Togath, is
Yep.
this thing. Is I have a feeling there might have been some kind of love interest that may have happened, and they know that this is a very discreet spot. There's only one god. There's not a lot of folks left, so the lady may have been involved in something a little bit more. Most arranged marriages aren't the one. At least one of the parties aren't too fond, because they typically are on the losing end in those deals.
So let me get this straight. You think she, and I looked down at Togath and I was like, was someone, then things went bad and he kind of turned into something he wasn't supposed to be, and then he scurried off.
Or I don't know. I don't know that much about lichens, but it could have been something triggered mid coitus and it was uncontrollable.
Every time he says coitus, I just want to laugh. And I just Dolo, why don't you just say it? Just say when they fuck. Just say it.
Okay, when they were doing boom boom.
Just like trying to feel like this is a lot to process for Togath at the moment.
Every time that you dance around the word and Kenny makes his uncomfortable face, I enjoy every moment of that.
So
like, I'm trying to somehow suck my head inside my shoulders every time he's like.
I believe we should probably see if there's any other trace of tracks towards the fjord. Because it seems like that's the direction that the tracks were headed. Unless you guys have any other suggestions about this area.
No, I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen, you go ahead. I shamed you in sex, so
Togath does not appreciate this.
So I wanted to find out how much information do I know about lycanthrope, that as far as in my history. That's how, like, I know that this is in my head most likely lycanthrope. I just want to know
Yeah. Make either a nature check or a survival check. Your choice.
I have survival. Would I be able to see what I know from fucking if I know anything about lichens? That's why I was asking.
No, that would be nature for
Wow.
you.
Nature for me?
Yeah.
I know they're scary. That's exactly what I just rolled.
I mean, I assume we would all want to know how
6.
much we know about lichens. So what would I roll for that?
It would be nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really? Tell me everything.
20. Hot damn. So yeah, there's a bit of fear that kind of clouds everything that Togath should remember about lycanthropes.
It's all the sex talk that is literally clouding my head right now.
Like all you can imagine now is just Helen being ridden by some other big dog,
It's just, you know,
and it's just like
that,
all the words that they use, like boom, boom, like you just it doesn't help.
Oh my god! In the background, it's just this and boom, boom, boom,
Boom,
boom,
boom,
boom, boom,
boom, boom.
boom, boom,
Every time
boom,
it goes
boom,
in and
boom,
out.
boom,
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 boom.
boom, boom.
Let's just not dismiss that they might have been doing the horizontal mambo. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Stop.
But it is Aylin that kind of has heard the most, and it kind of recalls as best as possible that werewolves are bound by the full moon. Silver is one of the few ways, if not the only way, to get rid of them, and that they're usually the predominant species is a werewolf, but there are other lycanthropes that have afflicted people of society. No humanoid is safe. It is a very dangerous disease, but you do know that it can be reversed if caught early, and that really the only people that are safe are paladins.
Wonderful. None of us. Splendid.
We're all screwed.
This is wonderful.
Okay, go ahead. You were going to say something, Dolo?
So I believe maybe we should check out the fjord. We the other suggestion I have is, and we have to be very cautious when we do it, is to go speak to the family about her, maybe find some more information. I have another weird theory that has nothing to do with the sexy dance.
With the penises and the vaginas?
Yes, that thing. The the bludgers. So she visited the poor side of the city a lot, and she donated a lot to orphanages, and she spent a lot of her time in that area. Who's to say the princess didn't find a papa over there that she may have fallen for, and unfortunately didn't know what was going on with him, and here we are.
Love
Or,
is for the poor.
not sure what that means, but sure.
I mean, she was third in line for to lead to to run this whole thing. So I I I don't know. I still think that this is still not a good situation at all. Because having lycanthrope, having like penis. Ah, I can't believe this.
Togath, my friend, what part, and I point to the bloody mess on the wall, what part of any of this, lichen or not, is a good situation? Because I'm having trouble getting there with you, my friend. But I think we should try to move forward with this and check the fjord. Maybe something pops up along the way. But
I
unless there's other suggestions, that's what.
No, yeah, I think in all serious, guys, we got to check. I think we do have to check all of that stuff, and I think that we should also find out who's fourth in line. Just want to put that out there. I'd like to talk to them too, wherever they are. But I guess let's check the rest of this area in the direction that these lovely little footprints are going, and I start making my way in the direction.
Downtown.
Making my way downtown.
Yep,
Yeah.
there it is.
That's it.
That's it.
Demonetized.
You all head over to where the dwarf was staring out into the city. You can see that the sun is on its downward track. It's maybe at a 30-degree from setting, and down the fjord it's not that big a deal. It's 40, 50 feet right now down to the water. But you can see what looks to be a tattered remains of a dress down there. And on one of the lower shelves, you can see what looks to be a very fancy leather shoe of some kind.
How far down, Will?
Maybe about 15 feet down.
15.
Wonderful. I use Mage Hand.
Ooh.
And I grab those beaches up.
Okay. Well, you can grab the shoe. The dress is down by the water's edge.
Oh, okay. But
So
I will grab.
that's about 50 feet away from you. What's
I
the
will
range on
reach
Mage
for the
Hand?
shoe. 30 feet.
Okay. Yeah, so you bring up the shoe. It looks like it's made for a smaller foot, like it might fit Aylin. It looks like it's got a small heel, maybe 1 inch heel. Though the heel isn't really separated from the main part of the shoe, it's kind of got this wedge look to it. Leather, it looks like there's some kind of holes in the leather part that would have gone over the back of the foot, the top part of the foot. It's simple enough to imagine that there must have been some kind of decoration that was here that has been ripped off.
Okay.
And there's nothing else. These are the only things that we see is the dress and the shoe. There was nothing else over the cliff that we could see.
Nothing else.
And we can't reach the dress.
I mean, if you want to climb down, you could try.
You're certainly welcome to try climbing down. I will be doing no such thing.
Well,
How far down? How far down is the dress?
50 feet.
50 feet. I mean, and Togath underneath the tunic will unclasp the arm. Like he'll actually just take down the armor because I know for a fact that he already knows it's going to weigh him down if he does this.
Yep.
And he'll do the descent.
Oh,
Free climbing.
well, my friend. Are you climbing the whole way?
Well, it's it's far enough to I can get to the actual dress, if anything.
Yeah. All right. Let's do some athletics checks then.
Yep.
Do be careful.
What is just for shits and giggles and for me to know this information?
Sure.
How much weight can a mage hand spell carry?
5 pounds?
10 pounds.
10 pounds.
Is it? Oh, it's 10 pounds. That was 5.
It says the hand can attack, activate magic items, or carry more than 10 pounds.
Yep.
Ah, okay. Before I descend down, I'm gonna place my hand over my chest and cast guidance on myself,
Okay.
Ooh.
just in case.
Yeah, so you got a D4 to this first roll.
On top of my ability scores.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I hope your
Well,
athletics is not a -1 like your charisma is.
nope.
My athletics is at a -1. That's why I didn't climb down.
It says that I can. Well, guidance does allow me to choose whether or not I want to use the extra D4.
Yeah.
So let's see how the first roll goes.
You got it. 13.
13.
You start making your way down. The rocks are slippery. They are moist. But you get down to just past the ledge where the shoe was.
Mhm.
You are safe so far.
All right. All right. No whammies. No whammies. No whammies.
Yep.
And I'm gonna have to cast guidance on top of that in order to not die.
Ooh.
Looks like it.
So let me roll that D4 on top of it.
Wait, what did you roll?
5 plus 3 is 8. So you see that Togath takes off his
Stop.
armor.
I'm gonna give him my inspiration.
Oh shit!
Oh, look at that! Wait, does Togath know that that Aylin does that?
I mean, that's not a class ability.
No, I know it's not a class, but like, there's. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let Aylin somehow. Like, is there like, for instance, is there something that Aylin does in order for that to happen?
I was gonna just use Mage Hand and slap him. Get back on that wall.
That's what you get.
That's what you get.
All I see, I look up as I'm going down, and it's just Aylin going like this.
Just remember.
Inspiration.
Just remember. The finger goes in the hole.
So with inspiration? What do I get with that?
Just to
You get
reroll
to
the check.
reroll.
Yeah, reroll the check. So
Okay. Cool.
there was one thing that I sent in the questionnaire that only Q found, which was a secret question. And so not only was it because she's the only one that found it, did she get whatever the secret question was, but I also decided to give her the ability to start this session with inspiration. So she's passing that on to you.
I am.
I'm touched. Togath is touched.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
let's see what this reroll does.
Climb back up and you're going to get touched.
Yeah.
All right, 13.
13. That's enough to get down safely to the dress.
And now you live there.
Yeah, something about
And now I stay there.
imagining these fingers going into the holes that just helped you
Oh God.
climb down.
This is provocative.
Yeah. You don't know if it was the hand gesture that Aylin did for you, or just the thought of just how many must Helen be taking at one time.
Well, I'll take it more as when Togath saw that, Togath realized that the fear that he had of dying outweighed the fact that the fact of how cringe he was feeling from what he was seeing. That he's like, okay,
yeah.
Be very cautious on the way back up, because if you were to slip and fall, those are quite jagged rocks, and they will copulate with your.
Thank you, Dolo. Thank you for making sure he's very scared. That's a good job. Good job.
A mage hand thumbs up. 30 feet down.
30 feet down.
Hold on. I now also cast Mage Hand and smack Dolo's Mage Hand out of the way.
Oh my God. So I'm looking. So as Togath is grabbing this dress, he looks up and sees literally mage hands just slap fighting.
Just slap fighting.
This is like the Green Lantern, and there's like a middle finger that it gives.
Yeah. Yeah. Just starts doing gang signs. All right. Time to climb up the wall.
Well, anything that I notice when I grab the, when I grab the dress, am I able to stabilize myself where I have to use one hand in order to grab down?
There's enough of a ledge down there for you to kind of stand and look at this dress. It does not look like it's the dress that she was wearing when she was attacked, if it belongs to her. This is a totally different dress.
I wrap it and I shove it into the tunic that I'm in.
Yep.
And along with that, I take a deep breath.
Yes, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Jeff, Dolo, make your mage hand do this.
Oh, no!
Abort mission!
Yeah. You know what's happening. You know what's happening.
That's exactly what's happening.
I will make my mage hand do this.
We just
cheer him on. Cheer him on.
Yeah, just this multicolored hand gestures coming on above you.
My favorite thing is that Brandon's gonna come into this episode next time, and there's gonna be so much sex jokes, and he's gonna be so confused.
No, we're all gonna look at each other and go.
Yep, that's the high sign.
Yep.
That's a danger sign.
So yeah, when I see that, because that is happening, that is canon. So I see that.
Yep. Just like the bananas canon.
I take a deep breath and I place my hand on my chest again to give myself guidance one more time.
Yep.
Because I'm gonna need it.
Here we go.
And I begin my climb.
By the way, while he rolls, I think I figured out our group name.
Yeah.
Copulation Incorporated.
Mm. Run it by Brandon when he comes in.
Butts and stuff. So roll athletics.
At least it's not butt stuff.
Yeah.
Lisa, yeah. Everything but.
Everything but 2 T's.
Here's the thing. I appreciate everybody in the chat. I just want to point this out because now my job is I'm going to find every possible way of saying sex. And it's going to be done at least once every episode. There's going to be one of them.
Perfect.
Just for the chat.
Just
You know, I don't know how this keeps happening every time I'm in a campaign, but I'm all about it.
I'll say this, Timber Brad. I thank you so much for your confidence in me that he literally put a skull with a knife through it. That's it.
Here's the thing. So I didn't see the comment until I already had the idea, like, of the hand. So that was great. That was great. I'm glad that we could make sure we hit that. We don't miss that opportunity
Not at all.
that was in front of us.
Not at all.
So yeah, I rolled,
Yep.
and I believe I got.
Or
I got a
behind you,
14.
depending on what you
Okay.
do.
So 13 and 14 is enough to get you back up. It is a harrowing climb, and it is frightening because you know you almost slipped going down. So you can only imagine what gravity will do to you if you slip going up.
And I just collapse on. I just collapse back, and I go,
Please, no more.
Yeah.
and I'm just rifling through my tunic just to grab the dress to take it out.
It is
I
it is a beautiful yellowish kind of egg yolk yellow dress with these ruby red threaded flowers that are spattered around it, less at the top and more at the bottom towards the skirt is, and it looks like the threading itself has crushed rubies in it. Like, this dress looks expensive. And
you said earlier that it wasn't her. It didn't look like the dress that she had been wearing previously.
it doesn't look like the
that's
dress that she would have been wearing when she had her stomach destroyed.
void. Okay.
So the three of you are standing over this dress. Well, the two of you are standing over this dress. Togath is on his back, breathing heavily and trying to mentally bleach the images that you have forced into his existence. And this is where we're going to cut it for tonight. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining us for our first episode of our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which will be alternating Fridays with my Star Wars game. Tomorrow, catch me here again for our pirate one-shot that has become its own campaign, which I am excited about. We're going to be introducing a new character named Captain Kelpkeep, which I think is a stupid name, but it's not my character, so I have to live with it. You can join us on Monday for our Anarch chapter of our Vampire the Masquerade game, and you can join us on Tuesday as we jump into the second chapter of our Werewolf the Wild West game, and we meet our Theurge for the first time. Otherwise, I will see you next Friday for our Star Wars campaign. As always, please, please, please look out for each other. Continue to wash your hands. Continue to keep your distance. Continue to wear your masks, as I do wherever I go. And if you are in the United States and you feel like you need some help and you're watching live, there are phone numbers going up in the chat right now, because some people just don't understand that it's okay to not be okay. And mental health should be a part of our general health routine and kind of dealing with and being a part of. And just know that we've been through some tough times and we're still not out of the woods yet. So please, 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 if you feel like you need help, just know that there are resources out there for you. If you're not in the United States, there's a link going up in the Twitch chat right now so you can find the help that you need in the area that you live in. And as again, because I know that I need to go look and see when I can get my booster shot. If you haven't gotten vaccinated and you are of age and you are allowed to get vaccinated, please consider yourself getting vaccinated. Get yourself vaccinated. Every little bit helps. So please help us put an end to this. But as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you when I see you.